Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for clicking play on this episode because we've got a very exciting guest here. Who doesn't know this guest?
If you don't, you must be living under a rock.
And we offended half the audience, but that's okay because Joyce Sigler is our guest today, ladies and gentlemen. And I feel like if you're listening to this, you probably do know who she is. And you're probably like, man, I've always wanted to listen to her on a podcast.
Yeah. We're like hanging out with Joyce in a way. Let's put it this way. Many of you have probably seen her on stage, seen her present, seen her in big meetings. She's chair of the NetView board, been very influential in the Vertafore ecosystem. But this is a different kind of conversation. This is us sitting down with Joyce and just hanging out, right? And getting to hear, I would say, mostly about her transition from the midsize world to the large agency world and what she learned through the process.
But even more than that, I want to get behind I want to know what her karaoke song would be.
Yeah, let's go. Who doesn't?
I mean, I want to know what that is. So I'm going to get out of the way. Let's check out this conversation with Joyce Sigler. Hi, Joyce.
Hey, Joyce.
Hey, how are you?
What is going on?
Good. How are you?
I am good, thanks.
Sweet.
We were just fighting over who loved you more over here on our end.
It's me.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
You want to fight?
We could fight. That'd be like the third guest we've fought over lately. But we do love you, and I know that Vertafore loves you, NetView loves you, everyone loves you that's ever met you. So I'm excited you're here hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, this is gonna be fun. And I can tell you right now, I'm not going to get to all the questions I want to ask you, and neither will she, because we're going to talk over each other probably because we want to ask you so many questions. But I am going to get the first one in, and I would love to know if you were at a karaoke bar and you had to sing karaoke, what would your karaoke song be?
Walk like an Egyptian.
Oh wow! Okay.
Wow,
She must go
that's
karaoke
great.
a lot.
Yeah, is
because
there
she had that one
is there a
off the top
story
of her
there?
head.
Is there a story
No,
there?
I just love love the song.
But there will be Accelerate 2025, 100%.
Oh yeah.
This could happen, Joyce.
Oh wow! I love, and she had her answer so quick. I love it.
Yes.
Most people are like,
It's the confidence, man.
Dude, I love the confidence. I absolutely love it.
It's a fun song. It's a fun
It
song.
is.
I'm going to play it as soon as we're done with this episode. I'm playing it.
Because
It's
she doesn't
happening.
know. She's never heard it before. You just got her.
That's not. Okay, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'll tell you what. Once I hear it, I guarantee I've probably heard it before.
Oh, that's
You've heard
hilarious.
it.
Gosh,
yeah.
I can't win in this freaking podcast.
Oh,
it's
that's
just difficult.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Okay, so I'll just start off real high level before we dive any deeper. Tell me about, you just spent, the last year or so as president of NetView or involved pretty heavily in the last several years. But what has NetView meant to you? What is, that past year? I know that had to have been a grind for you. And if it wasn't, make sure that it sounds like it was, because then I sound like an idiot if it wasn't. But tell me what this last year was for you.
Well, so being the chair of NetView, so it's not president.
Sorry,
anymore.
chair. Yeah.
That's okay. You come up through the chair, and to do and be the chair, it's like a 3 to 5 year commitment.
Yeah.
So I don't think people realize that. We start, and it's even more if you haven't been involved in NetView, had been in the chair or in committee chairs. So when you get to the chair, a couple of the prior chairs have said, hey, only pick one thing because you're only going to really try to get one thing done. You have these grandiose ideas of, this would be great, that would be great kind of thing, but it's not at all what happens. The NetView business, and I'm air quoting business, is about the members. And I think we forget about that. So it's a repeated thing to reinvent and relook at what we're doing for members and what members do. So it's the business of NetView, but it's talking and always thinking about the members. It's not, we'd love to say it's about Vertafore, but Vertafore is the product and NetView is the people and the people that use it in the trenches. And so it becomes this business for a year of thinking at that level, thinking in the weeds enough, not what we did 5 years ago or 2 years ago, but what do the members need today? And that pivot is a hard pivot, right? Because we get stuck in this is the way we've always done it. So that year is really a lot of time and effort. It's traveling with John or the chair or the director, excuse me, of what does relevance look like today in the industry we're in. So that year is not, it's fun because you get to see and be engaged, but it is in addition to every other piece of work that you do. So that's what that chair looks like for that year, but it builds up from about 3 years and you keep going forward.
Wow. As you talk about, putting yourself in that mindset of the user, the end user, you've been on both sides of the fence in larger agencies and in a smaller type agency environment. Could you talk to me about what that looks like for you? Obviously, you started off in a smaller agency, and now you're working in a larger agency, or maybe I have that flip-flop. Do I have that right? Tell me.
Nope, you have that right.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I did stalk you a little bit, so I want to make sure I get that right. But and we spent some time together on a webinar, and so I've gotten to know you a little bit there too. But just tell me a little bit about what that's been for you transitioning into a larger agency and how different that might be.
So I actually started at a smaller agency, moved and went and worked at Westfield for a while. So I went and thought I wanted to own my own agency at one point. Went and worked for Westfield for a period of time, and then hopped back out to what Vertafore would call medium-sized agency. But it was an agency that you could start to see the change in the industry of the mature employee and the debating of whether they got out of the industry or they stayed in the industry. So at one point, probably 3 years in, we knew that we were going to merge with this large agency. And going from a medium agency to a large agency was an interesting transition. For all of the work that I had done with Vertafore, I learned that I was extremely naive in the answers that I gave prior to Vertafore until I got in this larger agency. From every aspect, how many investors you have and whose money it was, and where that money was distributed, how it's distributed, the decisions that were made, larger agencies, and thinking big scale on implementing things. And here's the best example I can give. In the medium agency, we had 12 carriers. We have 500 carriers today. So
wow.
that just the piece of changing a feature set in the system from 12 agencies to 500 agencies, what a drain. And I mean, it took 2 weeks to do the same thing because it was all manual. And so the transition was an eye-opener of everybody here is different. How are we going to communicate with 300 people? How are we going to distribute to 300 people? How does the same message get to 300 people and them here? So that medium to large has been a great thing, but it's just like crazy of all of the pieces, parts you never think of.
Okay. You have just opened Pandora's box.
Boom.
Thank you.
I am excited. Let's go.
I'm just like, it's bubbling. So I had a very similar experience. I didn't work at a large agency, but grew up in the family agency, which is in the mid-sized market, and got a better look at the large agency space. I would say actually at the startup I was at, because we were working with them. We were working with larger agencies to help build out Salesforce, and then got even more experience coming to Vertafore. It's a totally different world, and you really don't know what you don't know mid-size to large. When you look at the workflows, the processes, like they're nice to have in a mid-size, would you say they're need to have in a large agency? How would you describe the idea, like operational excellence and, having standardized procedures in that large agency space?
So I think in a small to medium, it's easy to envision that everyone hears the same message, is going to click the same buttons. And we used to say, we don't care what order you did the 5 steps, just do the 5 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everyone in a larger agency interprets that totally different. The messaging has to be different.
Mm-hmm.
In a smaller agency, it's easier it feels like, for folks to understand, we're going to go here. We're going to go from here to here, and everybody gets that piece. In a larger agency, I need to understand why we're going from here to here, so that I know why I have to do these workflows and why I have to do these.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference? And the compliance piece, the end user doesn't care about compliance in a large agency. It's something that they don't totally understand, all of the compliance of New York law and hey, you can't share, and PII, and hey, we've got an email that now I can't send things because it's got PII in it and you're not letting me send data. So in a larger agency, those workflows look like a hindrance instead of a help.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about messaging and making folks understand we're just trying to get things done efficiently, not trying to have Big Brother look at you to see if you did 5 steps.
Yeah, and I think some of the agencies I've seen make that transition and grow from a smaller agency on, they say they started their workflows from day one when they were a 1-man or 2-man shop, and then they continued on through that. Would you say that's probably the best route to go in that, to start small? Like when you're small, start with the workflows.
I think starting small, but it begins before the workflow. It begins at the why. Why am I doing it?
Oh.
Nobody's going to do a workflow unless they understand the why.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And you and I have a friend in Mobile that did. I mean, I've watched his agency grow, but he always said he started from day one with like that why and with those workflows and with little things that they didn't understand then. But now that they're multiple states, they've gotten bigger. Now it's like, okay, it makes sense why we had these workflows, why we're doing the things that we're doing, because now we're on the same train.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, get ready because Accelerate 2025 is rolling into Charlotte, the Queen City, on May 6th through 9th.
I mean, this is the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You're going to see amazing stuff. Network with a lot of like-minded people who are tech forward. This is where you want to be in May.
So take that pit stops, did there at the Tech Hub, the latest InsurTech, live demos, hands-on environment where you can test drive. Whether you're looking to supercharge efficiency, tighten up your tech game, or optimize distribution management, this is where you're going to find your edge.
Join us at Accelerate 2025 in Charlotte and get ready to shift your agency into high gear. What about technology? What's the difference there between mid-size and,
I think there's more of a dependence when you're larger, right? Because you've got to move and pivot so much faster. When you're telling 200 people, you got to sit still while we figure out and get somebody to key in all of this stuff versus I need automation just to put it there. Hey, it'll be there on Monday when you come in. Nobody needs to do anything. I think that starts changing the buy-in, I always have to wait on something kind of thing. So I think from a large agency, the crux is the time, the planning. When you're a smaller agency, in that mom and dad agency, everybody gets the story and everybody gets if they have to wait a week. But that doesn't happen when 200 people are sitting like tapping their fingers saying,
Yeah.
oh, we're waiting on Sid to do this kind of thing.
So
I think yeah, go ahead.
No, and this is actually a principle that I would say is true outside of an insurance agency specifically. If I think about my experience at startup versus corporate, it's the same thing. There's this trade-off that you make between freedom and speed and resources and capacity. And it's like there's no perfect world. Like you have to, you just embrace whichever one I think, I guess feels most comfortable to you and the environment you enjoy the most. But, mid-size agency or like a startup company, you have a lot of freedom. You're not working off of legacy processes, legacy thought patterns, the way things have always been done. Oh, I see.
I know. I would just say, but in the corporate world where
Yeah.
there's freedom within the processes and there's freedoms within the workflows and there's still that freedom, in my opinion, and so I'd love to hear her opinion too. But I had to
that's
say
fair.
that because you're right. I thought the same thing. But since I've been here, I remember early on I got in trouble here for not using naming conventions, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what is a naming convention? But now there's freedom in that because I know what to name things. I
Yes.
know what it is. I'm like, oh, there's so much freedom. I don't have to think about it. I just,
Yeah. It becomes more of a tool.
yeah.
Yeah. Than like a, yeah. Yeah. I mean, go
Sorry.
ahead, Joyce. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. But to Sid's point, if I
to
was a
Sid's
startup
point.
and I owned my own agency, I would have no other alternative because I couldn't hire the staff that I thought I would dream about. I'd have to use automation to get it done. So I'd have the luxury of not convincing someone that I wasn't taking their job. When you are larger and you think about automation,
Right.
and I say,
that's a
oh,
good
hey, the bot or the AI is going to do this overnight. Oh, what do you mean? You're taking our job? No, I'm not taking your job. I'm
Yep.
helping. So I think communication and it all is so intertwined. It's interesting to watch. The messaging. I love automation. I love the screen pops. We're looking at new telephone systems and thinking about what we could do. But we've also learned from that piece that if you had a telephone that all you had to do was answer it today and that's all you knew, to now it's going to record your calls and it's going to grade you how you do your job, and it has this capability with automation behind it to tell for my manager to barge in and help me. That whole thing is very intimidating to an employee that is not used to or doesn't understand AI and technology.
Yeah.
Now,
It's just the tool they use.
yeah, have you always been interested in technology and AI and workflow? I mean, all of these things with automations and whatnot, has that always been something you're interested in, or is that something just over time you realize I have to embrace this?
It's actually my degree. My degree
Really?
is actually in computer networking.
Awesome. I did not know that. Okay, that's really cool because, the more and more I talk to you and the more conversations we ever had, I'm like, man, she loves this stuff. And so I didn't know. For me, it's been something, I've been in it 22 years. I had to embrace it because I was like, oh, crap, if I don't, then someone's going to pass me up because I don't. I know a lot of audience members listening right now are thinking the same way. And there's a lot obviously think the way you do of like, I love it. This is what I do. And so that's always been a fascinating thing for me, watching your career, watching what you've done, and seeing how much you enjoy that. What are some of the automations that you said you love automations? Are you talking more automations from a renewal automations or onboarding or new business or internal automations or external or all the above?
All of the above, but in a gentle way. I really
gentle
think it can't be robotic, right? It has to be humanized. And that's where AI is going. The ability for folks to have help that they don't even know they're getting help, I think sells automation. Hey, if my phone
that's
can
good.
ring and it can pop the screen to me, they don't know that automation is helping them. They just know it's there. So if you can reduce the pushback to, hey, you're automating everything, you're recording everything, Sure, everything is recorded today. Everything is a piece of big data, but why should that be intimidating?
Right. I completely agree. And I don't know if you guys do this much, and it's not necessarily an automation thing necessarily, but you talked about the phones. You've said that several times, that the idea of having a score, a sentiment score, like how your customers feel about you when they get off the phone with you, or all their interactions with you, their engagement with you. I don't know if you guys are doing much with that, but I see a lot of agencies that, like you said, the phone calls are graded. They have AI that gets into their emails and tells you like how they feel about your agency based on their responses and whatnot. Do you guys do much with that at all?
It's on our roadmap.
Yeah.
As I really, people are still going to be necessary. People are
100%.
still going to be the driving force. If automation can just enhance them
Yeah.
with these tools, regardless what the tools are. So we are looking at automation in renewals. We look at automation in our workflows. We look at automatically filing things so that no one has to do those parts. It doesn't reduce their value. It actually grows their value and lets them work in this industry where they're passionate. If we can automate the things that take away the mundane pieces for them.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. I was listening to Elon Musk's biography over the last couple weeks, and one of the most brilliant minds of our generation. I think he's from the future. I'm convinced of it. He just came back to help us.
He's Marty McFly.
Yeah. He talks about his principles behind automation, and he had to learn the hard way because he was a big fan of automation. He went in and as he was trying to scale Tesla, tried to automate every part of the process, meaning pull humans. I mean, literally, anywhere we could put a machine to do the job of a human, let's get a machine in there. And if you've ever seen like the drone fly through the Tesla factory in Austin, Texas, it's so cool. What he realized was that actually there's some parts of the process, and we're talking about manufacturing vehicles, which you would think could be a fully automated process. But even in that, there are parts where humans are actually more efficient than machines. And so his principle now is, I will go in and I will automate everything. And then I will go in and I will remove 10 to 15% of that automation, and I put humans in place. And my process actually becomes more efficient. It's the most interesting thing. So I love the messaging automation properly and all of that. Here's the other thing I'm hearing, Joyce, and correct me where I'm wrong here. I think like it feels like mid-size agencies and large agencies each have a really critical role to play in the independent channel, where mid-size agencies are like these speedboats that are blazing our digital future, right? You can move fast and break things and get buy-in and try out crazy cool things. And large agencies, while they might move a little slower with adoption and there's more time that has to be spent on messaging, end up solidifying those changes and keeping, I would say, those changes for a long period of time. And really, I would say, like, moving the industry forward in a bigger way. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I think every agency is large and they don't know it.
Oh,
wow. And I think they have to operate as if they're large. And here's where I'm coming from. I do agree that a mid-size agency can pivot and do things faster. However, what do they have that is the same as a large agency? They use conglomerates and everything else to change their profitability by taking their markets and putting them together. A large agency just works like that every day. So to me, everybody should operate like they're a large agency, because if they don't, they won't grow and they don't have goals.
I don't know how we keep going after that. That was that's like a presentation that you should take around the entire country, Joyce. I mean, I know you just got done being
large agency.
chair, but yes, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Dude,
well said.
Very well said. Again, I'm with you. I don't know. I don't know where we end from there. I don't. I think that was awesome. Okay, so a wrap-up question I wanted to get in with you, and you've said a lot of awesome things here, but I would love to know, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given, and what has that meant to you? Inside or outside the industry?
I think the best that I continue is don't forget where you came from. No matter where, no matter who, don't lose yourself. If you become a mom, you're still a person besides that mom. If you become a wife, you become a husband, you're still the who that you began with. So don't lose yourself. Otherwise, you won't be of as much value to anyone. So that's I've always held on to.
I love it. What's next for you? What's the latest? What's new coming up for you? What are you doing next? Like, what's going on with you? You got to do with the NetView. You kicked butt there for a while. Are you looking for another project to get into? Are you looking for another board to get into? Or are you looking? What's up for you next?
I don't know yet. I'm still shopping.
Awesome.
I'm still shopping for the thing that makes my heart go pitter patter. I sit on a lot of technology boards, which is great, and it keeps my mind working. But I don't know what's next. I've done a lot with ACT and Augie and in the industry, did a lot with Accord. So I'm not quite sure where I'm growing up to be next, but I'm shopping.
I can promise you'll make an impact in whatever that looks like. And so
absolutely.
I don't want to wrap this one up. I'm trying to prolong it as long as I can, but I can't. So I'm going to have to let you go. But I enjoyed this so much. And I could promise you could probably have a staple within our webinar series every couple of months. We could probably enjoy you on a webinar. But
she's like,
no, I'm done. But no, you're amazing. And we appreciate the impact you've had on us and our industry as a whole. So thank you again for all of that. And we hope that you have a wonderful day, and thank you for being here.
Great. Thanks for the invite. Always a pleasure.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Joyce.
Man, what a great episode.
Dude, that was fire.
Yeah, you always like those. I always like the ones that give me heartburn, the spicy episodes.
The spicy ones?
Because we got some great guests that we had to share their opinions. We had to get that out there.
Well, and listen, that's not the last great guest we're going to have. We got so many more lined up this season.
You got to come back every single time.
Go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, or make sure that you follow us on your favorite podcast channel.
So come back next week, hang out with us. We got another amazing guest. See you on the next one.